Prepare yourself to be blown away by the seismic sounds and scrutiny of Aftershocks Podcast with Chris Aiken and Matt Hartnett.
Well, let's go ahead. Why don't we go ahead and we'll bring in our first guest tonight. And as I mentioned earlier, he's the bassist for Houston's melodic metal mavens, Galactic Cowboys. He's also a host of his own podcast that he's been doing for quite some time now called Montys Art, Mr. Monty Colvin. What's up, Monty? How you doing? Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, first thing, man, I got to ask everybody when I talk to them these days is how are you doing with the pandemic? I hope you're well and your family's well. How are you doing getting through all this right now?
I'm doing fine. I wish it would get over with because I'm ready to get back to living, going to concerts, baseball games, and having some fun again. It's really sucked.
It sucks, man.
I don't know that that's exactly breaking news, Monty. Breaking news.
No.
The pandemic would end.
Right.
Awesome. Well, hey, man. So, I mean, while we have you, obviously, here, thanks for coming, man. And, Galactic Cowboys, I mean, it's been about 3 years ago, you guys released Long Way Back to the Moon back in 2017. And that was, 17 years before that since you had released a record. And I don't know, like, when you guys released the record, it wasn't like you guys had put together one and you were shopping a label. The label actually came to you guys and offered you a deal. So, I mean, what's going on, I guess, with the band right now? Is there any activity before the pandemic happened, or are you guys just kind of taking some time again off?
Yeah, we got together and did it about 3 years ago. We put it out, and then the label didn't really do much with it. And so we just kind of went on hiatus again. So that's kind of where we've been. We played a few shows. We played about a year ago and played a couple of shows down in Texas.
Oh, cool.
And that was fun, but haven't really done much since, and there's not really been any way to tour or anything. So that's kind of where it stands right now. I don't know what we're going to do in the future, if anything, but we'll see.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I mean, just to take us back a couple years ago when you guys did release the album, I mean, when you guys first, I mean, it had been 17 years. I mean, I know you guys had played some, shows in between there, but it was 17 years that, you guys didn't probably get together in a studio and record music. How was that after 17 years getting back in the studio, recording? I mean, what was the vibe like? Did you guys click sort of naturally, or did it take some time to kind of get things moving again?
No, we kind of picked it up where we had left off, and it was really fun and refreshing because, we'd been away from each other for a long time, and it was fun to get back together with those guys, and we just, had fun making music again. There wasn't a lot of pressure to, that we were going to have to do anything big with it. It was just, let's make an album, have fun, and, hope some people like it and enjoy it again. And so that was kind of the way it was.
Okay,
sure.
Cool.
Nice. Well, Monty, one of the things, and this is kind of a historical Galactic Cowboys thought more than just any one release, but I always personally thought the biggest problem that you guys had was that there was way too many perceptions about the band and way too little actually listening to the band. And let me explain exactly what I mean here.
Okay.
People immediately said first you were put into the Christian band thing. And so then everybody's comparing you to Stryper. They're a Christian band, so they must be like Stryper. Nobody's listening. They're just putting you into a category. Then they started saying, when you guys kind of got away from that a little bit, then they started saying, well, they sound like King's X. Again, anybody that listened to the band knew you didn't really sound like King's X. Right. But you got put into those categories. And by the time you guys had a couple of records out, you had spent more time just defining yourself as not being in a category that people didn't understand who the band was in the first place. Is that
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff followed us around for our entire career, still there.
Right.
I don't think I've ever read an article or done an interview where they didn't talk about King's X, and that's fine. They're good friends of ours, and
Sure.
we like them. But yeah, we always saw ourselves as just a rock band, just a metal band, whatever. We do what we do, and we toured with Dream Theater, we toured with Anthrax in Europe, and so we Overkill. So we toured with a lot of different bands, but we did seem to always get put in that same kind of category. And I don't know how much it helped or hurt us, but it was what it was. So,
right. Did it bug you at the time?
I always wanted to just be seen as us, and taken for what we did, which I felt was really different, and I think history kind of proved that when, even the labels, they didn't really know how to market us. We were on Geffen, and I don't think they really knew how to market us, and or what to kind of category to put us in. So I always wanted us to just be seen as who we were, and not get a lot of comparisons, but I guess you always do get compared to something.
True. Yeah, no, definitely. One of the things too, Monty, I noticed is, the band, you guys released, I think it was like 7 studio records from 91 to 2000. That's like 7 records in like 9 years. That's a lot of music in a short amount of time. Sort of something you'd see from bands like in the 70s, not so much the 90s. Do you think maybe in hindsight, it might sound a little weird, but you think by releasing so much music in like such a short time that maybe, it just could have been a bit detrimental to the fact that, once people were maybe starting to hear the record or was gaining steam, you guys were already kind of moving on to, a new recording and promoting, a new release. Do you think that had like an effect at all, or?
Could have. I don't know. I mean, after Geffen dropped us, we got picked up by Metal Blade, and Brian just liked to, put out albums, and we'd still be touring on the one album, and he'd go, "Hey, let's put out an EP," So
yeah,
and so we thought it was great. I don't know if that hurt us. It was just we always had a lot of material to keep putting out, so it was fine for us. I really don't know.
Right.
Yeah, and then I think Chris alluded to before, with the comparisons to King's X. I mean, you guys are a lot heavier than King's X. I mean, I think the only reason why people probably compared the two is because of the the vocal harmonies, that maybe had a little similarity. Because I never thought you guys sounded like King's X at all. And I think one of the reasons too that you guys had such a great heavy sound too was you got such a very unique bass tone. It's not your typical metal tone with that low end, that heavy bottom. It's like you've got more of that high end. It's a lot more treble to it. You almost sort of like a rhythm guitar type of bass, which is unique. I think that's what really, I think, made you guys stand out a little bit in terms of your heaviness, because even when I listen to your solo stuff, your crunchy stuff, it has sort of that same sound as well. So I mean, explain, man, how do you get that tone? It's really unique. I love it. I mean, I play bass myself. What's I mean, not to give away any of your secrets or anything, but like, what's sort of like your approach there with getting that tone on your bass?
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with bi-amping, but
Yes.
It's kind of this deal where you have one complete amp that's low end, just bass, and then I've got a whole nother set up where it's guitar basically.
Okay.
It's a guitar head with a guitar 4 cabinet,
Okay.
412 cabinet, and I kind of combine the two, and it just makes this really distorted, growling, wall of death.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's great. I mean, it has like a sort of like a Lemmy, kind of sound to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was influenced a lot by Lemmy. The first time I went and saw Motorhead, he stopped like in between songs and just kind of strummed his bass, and it was just like this, I was like, oh, that is awesome. I'm gonna get distortion pedals and
Nice.
and start making a tremendous noise.
Awesome.
And Matt, you would have known that if you were a subscriber to Monty's Rockcast, because he told that story, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 months ago on the podcast.
Yeah.
Monty, I told you this off air when we were testing things. I'll tell it again on the air. I love the Rockcast. It is a go-to for me. It is I like music podcasts in general, but I really like the Rockcast because it's not phony. It's the most real podcast about, and it's not only about the business. I mean, you talk a lot about your art, you talk a lot about your bands and yourself and just, living day-to-day life and whatnot. But when you do talk about Galactic Cowboys, you do it in a way that is very real for a band that is your size, the size of Galactic Cowboys. And so few bands do that. Everybody wants to pretend that they were superstars when they weren't. And it's very refreshing that you don't. So talk a little bit about your decision, not only to start the Rockcast, but to be so open and honest in a time and as a musician where most musicians simply don't have it in them to be that open with their stories.
Okay. Well, growing up, I used to play with tape recorders and I'd have my own little, shows and stuff like that. And then when podcasts came along, I was like, man, I'd like to do one of these, So I got, the Mac computer and figured out how to do it. And when I first started, I was just terrible at it, and so, I just figured, hey, this is me. I'm just going to have fun with it, be myself, be honest, not try to, put on a big phony show.
Right.
Just, be myself, be honest with people about my life and, the stuff I've been through, which a lot of it's been bad, there's a lot of bad stuff that goes on in the music industry. And so I just wanted to talk about that stuff. I wanted to tell people music that I liked and turn them on to new stuff and have some fun with it. So I kind of take a self-deprecating slant sometimes, throw in a little comedy and just try to make it a fun show. So
sure. I absolutely love that you said to me that you were worried about the big bad CMS guys hearing it and ripping it to shreds.
Yeah, I've been a fan of, classic metal show for years and still am. I sit here and, listen to you guys when I paint and I listen to, this podcast. And so, I've been a big fan and I always wondered if they ever heard mine, would they, do one of those shows where they like, listen to this guy.
That's too funny, man. Well, you mentioned your art, Monty, and I really, really think that is probably your number one calling these days. I mean, certainly you're an accomplished musician and you could probably, if you wanted to, jump right into another band if you wanted to do that. But you've got some really, really, I don't want to say talent because that's not the right word, but you've got a unique way of seeing and presenting art, whether it's, and for people that don't know, you can go to montycolvinart.com and see what I'm talking about. But Monty does a lot of pictures, a lot of paintings of rock stars specifically. Those are the ones that I'm most interested in. But they really seem to have perspective that is not the standard perspective. Your Dimebag one, as an example, is much more gritty and real than most of the angelic Dimebag stuff that you see painted today. And like, maybe it's me over reading into it, but like your James Hetfield portrait that you painted with the big head almost kind of represents Metallica as a whole today with the bigger the bigger head than maybe they should have, you know. So, so obviously, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But you know, talk a little bit about your art and what goes into that, because I think you're very accomplished at what you do. I think more people need to actually see it.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I went to college to study art, and I got a degree in art. And then I went, wow, what am I going to do? How am I going to make money? And I've spent, the last 35 years trying to figure that out. And, I did some of our album covers and things like that. And, I've done a lot of stuff for people over the years, but about a year or so ago, I did some murals for the School of Rock here in Kansas City. And it was such a blast to do these giant paintings. And I woke up one day and went, maybe I should do those at smaller scale and, sell them on a website. And so I've started doing rock stars, and they're such a perfect thing for the way I paint, which is with a lot of color and, and just that kind of thing. And, rock and roll and, music just lends itself to, being out there and, colorful. And so I love doing the rock stars. I also, do commissions for people if they want me to paint, their, pets or whatever, their family members. But, the thing I enjoy the most is the rock stars. And, that's been a blast.
Sure. Talk a little bit, or tell the story if you don't mind. And I know I'm making you repeat yourself. Tell your Rick Nielsen story, because when I heard it on the podcast, that's a fascinating story.
Yeah, well, I did this painting of Rick Nielsen, and I'll just pick different people that I admire or whatever, and do a painting of them. And so I finally got around to doing a Rick Nielsen, and I got it done and put it up on the website. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, you ought to put that on the on this Cheap Trick fan page." And he actually did it for me, and he threw it on there. And about an hour after I posted the painting on my website, I get a message from this guy that knows Rick Nielsen, and he's like, "Hey, is that the actual painting or a print?" And I said, "It's the real deal. It's, the actual original painting." And he's like, "Well, I showed it to Rick. He's a friend of mine, and he loved it." And I said, "Well, you want me to get it and you can pay me for it?" And Rick's like, "Yeah, I want that painting." And so next thing you know, the painting was sold, and yeah, there it is. Nice. And so I thanked the guy, and I said, "Could you do me one more favor? Could you ask Rick to take a picture of it with the painting?" And he's like, "You got it." And like a week later, I get this, picture of Rick holding the painting. And of course he held it upside down because, that's Rick. But it was still like, oh my God, I can't believe this, So yeah, it was, that was a real highlight.
No question. Awesome. Well, speaking of experiences, Monty, another one I'd like you to maybe tell listeners here is, people might remember Galactic Cowboys as another band name called Sons of Thunder from the movie Airheads. I mean, it's been now a little over 25 years since that's been out now. So tell us a little bit about that experience. What was that? What did you get out of that? How cool was that?
It was cool making it because we got to hang out on the set for like the whole day, and we hung out with Adam Sandler and the guy that was in Airheads or in Spinal Tap, Michael McKean. I think that's it. Yeah. Something like that. And, so we met like these movie stars and hung out with them. And then they made us wear these ridiculous costumes. And, we got up there and filmed it. And I was jumping around and spinning and doing all these rock moves, and then when the movie finally came out, we went to the theater and, our scene came on, and I think you see the back of my head for maybe 1 second.
That's it. Okay.
But the other guys got to be in the movie, and I got my credit in the film. So.
Awesome. Well, was the band able to get any more, attention from it? I mean, did people know that was you because it was under a different band name, or no?
If you knew us, I think, you probably did. As far as exposure, I don't think it did much for us, in the way of, selling albums or anything like that. I did make probably more money off of that one song. It was a joke song called Don't Hate Me Because I'm Beautiful. Mm-hmm. And it was a joke song that we wrote for the movie, and we recorded it, and it didn't go on the soundtrack, but every time the movie would play, we'd get like a little royalty. And it wasn't much, but it was still more than I've made from most stuff in music.
Nice. Well, Monty, so, what is next for you? I mean, do you consider yourself now to be a full-time artist, or is music still something that's brewing in the background? Because I don't know. I listen to the Rockcast, and I never get the feeling that you're like, man, I really need to get back out there on the road and get back in a van and go do it again. I sort of get the feeling that you like kind of being at home with a paintbrush instead of on stage with a bass.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably be open to playing more if this, COVID thing ever gets over and we can play. I would probably be into that at this point in my life. But, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, if we'll record again or if there will be opportunities to tour. I would consider it now. But I mean, really the art is really what I'm focused on right now. And it's going really well. And so I don't know, that's been my, main thing that I've concentrated on the last year or so. And that's kind of where I'm at. We'll see what happens though.
Sure. Is when you do paint, do you, I know you said you'll do it, if somebody wants to paint a picture of their family or a mural or whatever, but for you personally, especially the stuff that you're just doing and then putting up to see if anybody is interested in buying, do you need creative reasoning in your head? Do you need to feel that inspiration to do something, and if so, what is it? Do you see a Dimebag video and think, oh, I like the way he stood here, I'm going to paint that, or what leads you to putting brush to canvas?
If it's like the rock star thing, it's usually, excuse me, people that, I really admire, or, I gotta be honest though, a lot of times it's just like, I'm motivated by, hey, you think this will sell? I've had people go, hey, you ought to do a Steven Tyler, and, the next thing I'm working on a
nice
Steven Tyler. Where is it? There we go.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
So I get that kind of thing, I'll have people suggest, people that they want to see, and I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And so it doesn't take much to inspire me. I love doing it. I love painting, and I'm motivated by, starvation.
You're a true artist, man. You're a true artist. Nice. Well, Monty, I'll tell you what, man. Why don't to wrap this up? Why don't you give everybody the plugs for the Rockcast and for the painting and Galactic Cowboys and all the stuff that you're in.
Okay. Galactic Cowboys. We're on Facebook and stuff like that. You can get a hold of me anytime on Facebook, just Monty Colvin. And my art website is montycolvinart.com. And what else? The podcast. Monty's Rockcast. Check that out. I try to put out one or two a month. And so check that out. But, if you want a commission or anything like that, just drop me an email, a message, and I talk to everyone.
Yeah. So buy something, you cheap fucks. Jesus.
Yeah. Help a poor, starving artist.
That's right. He's been giving and giving and giving for 30 years. Give back $150 or whatever. Nice. All right, Monty. Well, this has been fun, man. Great seeing you. Great having you on,
thanks,
man.
Monty.
Good luck with it, man.
Thanks for having me. This has been a blast. Big fan of you guys, and I really appreciate it.
Awesome.
All
Thanks,
right,
Monty. Thanks, bro.
All right, take care. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.